Hey y'all, welcome. Are any of you thinking fall, autumn? It's been so hot. I can't say I want to rush to time, but I'm getting there, y'all. I'm about ready for some cooler weather. So I'm going to be doing some Halloween projects today. So I'm hoping you're going to like this. I know it's a little early, but I want to get them out there for you guys. So this is Jilloween. Anyhow, the first one is a book that I'm doing, and this is the first book that I've really made over, so hope you like it. The very front of the book I am going to paint with 2 coats of chalk paint, and that is in the color Fluff. So any white will do really because you're going to decoupage, so it's not really going to matter. You just want to cover up all that cover. And this book was kind of a slick surface. It wasn't a really hard cover book. I wish I would have picked up one that was a little bit more hard cover, but it did work. So I'm going to use a fondant mold. This is just your cake mold. So you can always have that option. I just didn't have any other thing I wanted to use for the spine. And I had to use one and a little piece of this. So I just laid down my cornstarch in there just to keep my air dry clay from sticking. And then I'm going to lay out, I kind of do like a snake roll and put it in there. Then I use my palette knife to help smooth it down and make sure that it gets all the way down so that I get all that impression on there. Because you just want to make sure you get all the impression and you want it flat to the surface on the back. The cornstarch is going to help also just get that out. And then I'm going to use Titebond, quick and thick as always. And I just spread it with my fingers. I have no problem. I mean, look at my fingers there. I've got paint and whatever else on them. So I just use my fingers to spread it out. Keep your wet wipes nearby and you're fine. So I'm just taking my palette knife again and making a good clean edge where they're going to join at. And I kind of take my fingers and smush those together as best I can so that the seam, you can still kind of see it, but it's not so noticeable. I didn't quite let this set up long enough. Again, this is a slick surface, but I didn't want it to dry. I wanted to go ahead and add my paint. So I'm going to come back on the spine, on the back cover, and on the inside covers I did as well. I'm going to come in with just a black, and this is Caviar by Ditsy Belle, but again, any black paint will do. And because I need to get in all those little crevices of that mold, I am using a fluffy brush. So I'm going to do this before I lay down my decoupage in case I get a little bit overspill on that front cover. It's not going to matter as much. So just keep that in mind. Your steps, you want to do this first. So you got to go in and push everything into that little mold. And because it is very detailed and deep in there, I did end up coming back with a smaller art brush. And you could just pick up some cheap ones for this, but the thing about using your molds and doing paint is you want to make sure that they're soft. So you just want to make sure you have a soft bristle and not one that's stiff. So that's important. You don't want to use your chippy brushes to be doing your molds. You want just a good soft brush to get in there. And because this cover went around the edges as well, that's why I just went ahead on the inside and did my paint on there as well. And of course, I'm going to let this dry. And I only had to do 1 coat of this black. There were a couple sections I had to come back and touch up. So we're going into Roycycled's. This is the Halloween blocks. Y'all, look how nice this is. I don't know how all of you feel about Halloween. I know some people just don't like to celebrate it, but I've always looked at it from a fun aspect of it. That's just the way I kind of view that. I'm not looking for anything on the bad, evil end. So I think it's in how you view it too. So I wanted this little skull, and he fit perfect. So I just kind of took my fingers and made like a little template and then cut out around those little edges. And this fit good. We are going to come back and have to sand off some. I'm just using my liquid patina, but I think any decoupage medium would do. But I just like the liquid patina for my good projects that I want a nice, good seal. And that I kind of question the surface that I'm laying it down, if that makes sense. If it was a solid board, I wouldn't mind so much Mod Podge or even the Elmer stick glue. So with your decoupage papers, you can move them around. You see I had to reposition it a little bit because I just want to make sure that it's straight. I'm going all the way to that little spine area, so I want to make sure I get that. And it's got a little divot around the spine too, so I want to make sure I take my finger, press that down. And just make sure that you get the edges well. So I like to use the starter strip method. You do a little piece up at the top or either the bottom, whichever way you want to go, really doesn't matter. But just do a little strip to get you started, and that way that kind of sets the tone for all your other pieces. I'm going to let this dry, and then we're going to come back with a little sanding block and just go around the edges. And then I'm just going to sand that off. Now, when you're doing this with your decoupage paper, it makes a nice clean edge, but just remember to go in a downward motion away from your project. So the way you're holding it normally is it's going to be away from your face. You don't want to rub it to you because it could pull up your edges. So make sure you go. Now, if it was wood, it would make a clean edge. It did kind of tear a little bit, but I'm going in with some antiquing wax and a makeup sponge. I did it all over the edges. I also did my book pages to age them a little bit. And then I did go on my spine there some, and then all over my top, because I really want this piece to look aged. I want it to look like some book that's been sitting in somebody's library for a while. And it's Halloween, so I don't want that new, fresh, clean look to it anyhow. So I'm just going to age it all down. And I did take some of the book pages and kind of open up the book and rub on the inside of the pages as well, just so that if the book kind of got opened, if you wanted to open it some, your pages were taken care of as well. So we're just going to let all that dry. And then, y'all, last year I found this skeleton garland at the Dollar Tree. I've used it for so many projects. They are so cute, so I thought, why not embellish our book with this little skeleton? So you're going to see him here in a minute. It's cute as is, but I did want him to match the tone of that antique and wax and that book, so I'm just going to take the makeup sponge and rub him down and let him dry as well. Then I'm going to come in just with some jute twine, hook him onto that, and I want him off to the left. I want my skull to show, so I want him off to the left a little bit. Just going to wrap my jute twine a couple of times, just tie it in a knot, not a bow, clip it, and then this one is finished. So you're going to have to let me know what you like about this. If you like it, I really thought this one was cute, and this is the first book I've done. I've seen a lot of people makeover books with some molds and some paint and even some transfers, so I think I'll be doing a lot more of these. Second project, I'm going to show you my little mold here first, but you see those little wood rounds? That's what we're working off to the back there. And I'm using amazing casting resin. It sets up in like 10 minutes. So when you start mixing, be prepared to work with this stuff. So you're going to mix equal parts of A and B. Most of the time I do wear gloves. If you don't wear gloves, just make sure you clean up, wipe down your hands well after, because it could cause some skin irritation. When you go to, after you mix them and you take your little stir stick and you stir them, when they are clear, it is ready to pour. And I'm telling you, be ready. I always do too much, so that's fine. I always go ahead and make up some extra, and I just did some little leaves. This time we're going to be decoupaging again with Roycycled paper, and this is the Harlequin blocks. And I thought this looked a little Halloweeny as well, a little fall as well, but really, if you go with a dark, moody decor, this would be fun all season long. I could see this in like someone's library or something. I think these would be really cute. So I've already made one of the rose molds. So when it turns white, and it's about 10 minutes, then it's ready to go, and you can pop that out the mold. I had to work with a little bit here. I had to let it set up a little bit more. I don't know what I thought was 10 minutes, but I don't think it was. But when it gets white, it's ready to go. Just use your gravity. And sometimes you can see me here, I'm kind of using my fingers to get that out. But I like these roses, and we're going to do black roses. So we've decoupaged that Harlequin blocks on each of those little wood rounds. We're just going to come in and see, I had to go back and make another one of these roses as well. So that's why I showed you the mold to begin with. And that's that same mold from the first project, our book. This is just the cake fondant mold, but it had the rose in it. None of my other molds that I have on hand have roses in them. So I'm just going to come back and make another one of these. And in the meantime, we're going to sit here and use our little sanding block again. Look how satisfying this is. I almost got this whole thing from around here and just a little circle cut out of that paper. That was so satisfying, y'all. I just can't tell you. See, look there how nice that is. So we're going to take that same, well, first I'm getting ahead of myself here. I'm going to paint the roses black. And I just used that caviar paint again. And it did take 2 coats because that white resin's really going to suck up that paint. It kind of thins it out, I guess, because it's that slick surface, that resin. So I painted those with 2 coats. And then I'm going to come back with that same antiquing wax. And I'm going to go around the edges of that wood. And then I'm going to go across the top as well. And I'm going to come in with some super glue. I didn't have any of the gel. This is the kind of runny one. But just make sure you put it all over your surface, your resin mold. And then I'm going to glue that on there with the super glue. Then when that dried, I'm just going to come in. I didn't show you putting the little hangers on the back. But that's what I did. I had some little hangers in my craft stash here. I just screwed those to the back of each of these, kind of on the middle of the rows for hanging. I'm going to come in with like some eyelash yarn. I just happen to have some that's like orange and it's got browns in it, so it goes good with that color around our wood round here. And then these could be hung, or these could just sit. Or y'all, really, I mean, you could just sit them on top of that little book would be nice, or another book. I was going to say maybe a coaster, but I don't know. You got those raised edges with the rose. So I think hanging or sitting up, that would be really nice. So let me know what you think of this one. Which one's your favorite so far? Last project, you guys, I picked up these little cutting boards from Goodwill. I think they were $1.99. So you get a smaller one and a larger one. We're going to work with that larger one. And again, we're pulling out the Halloween Masterboard from Roycycled. I love this paper. I'm going to have to find more projects to put this on. I don't know if I'll film it, but I love that little head with the moth, and I love the moths and the heart's kind of creepy, but I like it anyhow. But I'm going to use this raven with the music here, and I do want that tree on there. I just think it adds just another element to our little piece here, kind of that creepy, spooky Halloween factor. So again, we're just going to be decoupaging. I'm going to speed this up to show you, and I'm showing you again, you can move your decoupage paper around. Make sure your medium goes all the way out to the edges. You want to make sure you get your edges down. So just make sure you got a good coat on there to get it off. And as always, when you lay a piece down with decoupage medium, whatever it may be, make sure that you coat the top and let that dry as well when you're done. That's just for protection of this paper. You don't want your paper to tear after you've spent the time to do this. So we're just going to come around with the sanding block again around the edges, and to tie all these pieces together, I think I'm going to put them in my booth, so if someone wanted to buy all of them, they would be cohesive together. I'm going to come in with that same antiquing wax and go over the sides and go over the back. And I didn't show you guys, but of course I did paint that back, that face of that board. I did paint it white, and that's just to make your decoupage paper pop and to make it crisp. You don't have to paint it white, but it may not stand out as much. So if you use a brown background, it's going to dull this whole piece, if that makes sense. So just using a white background just makes it stand out. And because I am decoupaging on a larger surface, I am going to use my brayer. Now let me tell you about the brayer. You don't want to continuously roll back and forth, roll back and forth. You could tear your piece. You could move your piece of paper. You want to apply a good firm pressure, not too hard, and you can hear it. Like, you can hear it taking those little air bubbles out, because you can hear it like kind of popping, kind of crisping sound. So you'll know when it's working there. But because it's a larger surface, that's when I usually use my brayer. Otherwise, I just kind of take my fingers and push out any air bubbles that I see. It's hard to get perfection on decoupage paper because it is a paper. You know, you're going to get air up underneath there. You're going to get some crinkling sometimes. But don't stress yourself out about that. Kind of go with it sometimes. That's part of crafting. And y'all, that's part of life. What's perfect, right? So we're just going to use that antiquing wax around the edges. And then I thought I would bring out my IOD letterpress stamps. These are new to me, certainly not new. I just don't have all of these crafts in my stash yet. For one, I don't have the room. I'm working on that right now, but I don't have the room to display all this stuff so I can easily grab it. But I am working on getting most of the IOD products in my stash. So because this is a new stamp collection to me, I'm going to pull off that backing, and at first that backing is going to be a little tough to pull off, but I'm going to pull it off, and then I'm just going to take my sanding block, my little hand sander there, and I'm going to go over this. Now what you're doing is you're kind of seasoning it. So think of like a cast iron pan, and you know, if it's new to you, if it's new, you kind of want to season it. A lot of people put it in a fire and season it. I'm going way off subject. Anyhow, you want to take and rub it. That's going to get that slickness off so that when you put your stamp on it, it's going to give you a crisp image whenever you lay your stamp down. That makes sense. But you got to get that crispness off the back and take all that down so that you can lay your stamp on there good. Your ink's going to sit on there good. And I'm using China Blue ink, and that is IOD as well. I don't know what I was thinking, y'all. Leave it to me. I wanted to put boo. Well, I did put boo, but I spelled out bop to begin with. What I should have done is, if you don't have repeat letters, you can always use other letters in its place. But what I should have done was put the P in the middle and the O on the end, and then come back and put the O in the middle. But I don't know. I didn't even need the P. Anyhow, I didn't ink the P. You don't want to ink the letters that you're not using. So I just inked the B and the O. Why did I put the P? Anyhow, so I'm just going to come back and ink the O again, and that's what I'm showing you now. I'm going to place that on there. I just thought that would be cute, and the blue kind of stands out a little bit. But then this project is finished. I hope y'all enjoyed. Let me know if you're ready to see any more of the fall projects right now, or if you're ready for Christmas. People are bringing in Christmas projects. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate you. I appreciate all the love and support you guys are giving my small little channel. Smash that subscribe button. Help me grow, grow, grow. It really helps me a lot. Thank you guys. Have a blessed week.